and good morning, and welcome to all of Mike King's friends in Belarus who are listening, and of course, wherever you are around this world. Mike King in Las Vegas. And yeah, Mike, I did miss the NAB again. And Charles Moscowitz in lovely Boston, Massachusetts. Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, wait a minute. I hear a new voice. Who's this?
It's Comrade Conally.
Oh, it's Comrade Conally from the Eastern Bloc. The Eastern Bloc of Houston, that is. Of East Texas, yes. How are you?
I want to apologize in advance. The sound quality might not be as good today because one of my business partners, Sean Greider, our geologist and president of our oil company, and I are headed to beautiful Luling, Texas today. And we're driving because Air Luling was all booked up.
So
we are...
Where in the hell are you? What is this place?
We are headed to the early spot of the Texas Hill Country, but one of the most prolific production areas in the state before the Eagle Ford and the Permian exploded was the Austin Chalk. And then the leases that we're working on today have both Austin Chalk and Eagle Ford production in it, and we're going to go work on deals. So we're headed to the Hill Country to work on oil business.
You know, I remember you and Mike and Charles talking about, Bill Chippis when he was here, about that Austin Chalk 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. The Austin Chalk actually began production prior to World War II. It's one of the oldest and most prolific production areas in the state of Texas. And it's enjoying some resurgence now with new technology and new drilling processes. There are Austin Chalk wells that are producing 1,000 barrels a day on initial production and more, that the field was largely thought of as depleted, tired, and no one should ever go back there again. And now one of the biggest companies in the world, Intervest, is drilling actively there. Their CEO gave a speech we listened to recently where they've had numerous wells, over 1,000 barrels a day. So that's worth working on.
That's great. Now, okay, so is this Hill Country? Is that somewhere around San Antonio?
Yeah, it's in between San Antonio and Austin. It's about 2 hours from Houston. It's probably 1 hour from San Antonio. And then the heart of the Eagle Ford is further west and south of this, but it definitely is in an area of Texas where there's been a lot of oil and gas produced.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, good luck, guys. Hopefully you can buy a few $1 million worth of oil wells today.
Well, the most important thing is the cost to produce oil in this area is very low, because things like yesterday, when the president of the Kuwaiti oil company announced at the Offshore Technology Conference that we believe that we will have the lowest lifting cost in the world, and the winner with the lowest cost, the producer with the lowest cost wins. And that's when oil tanked yesterday.
Yeah, I noticed looking up at CNBC, and all I saw was red all the way across there.
Well, as we've talked about, this is going to be a business of the most efficient, almost along the lines of a manufacturing business. It's no longer wildcatters that go out and discover huge new fields. It's going to be all about technology, efficiency, and being able to produce at the lowest cost per barrel, or you're done. And even the Kuwaitis just yesterday said the same thing we've been saying on the air here for months. This is a long-term, low-price environment. We are not going to see $100 oil. If ever again, it's going to be years and years. And we're going to be in this stable environment between, if we're lucky, $45 to $55 a barrel. And if you can't make money there, you're going away.
Tim, seriously, we're looking at all these, bizarre-looking automobiles or like these little car planes and stuff now. I mean, are they going to be powered by gas, or is this all going to be a whole new battery technology thing?
I think that while battery has its place in the market, you're not going to displace natural gas as being the primary feedstock for the biggest users throughout the world. It's just too easy. China, of course, is still the largest user of coal in the world, but eventually they're going to choke all to so many people, even in China, they miss them, and they'll have to go to cleaner burning fuels. And battery technology definitely does have a place in the market. Mike and I had a battery company years and years ago called Power Technology, and it had incredibly promising technology before its time. But the biggest problem with battery is the whole issue of storage and cost, and they're overcoming that on a daily basis, but it's not going to happen magically. It's going to be incrementally over time. And it's really the source of any kind of solar or wind power is ultimately going to have to be backed up with major batteries, or it just doesn't work. They produce all this electricity during periods of the day when people don't need it. And if they can't store it, it just dissipates. No batteries, no storage. So it is the single biggest issue in alternative production of electricity is how do you store from wind power and from solar power. That still has not been solved yet.
That's
I read an article about 3 or 4 weeks ago where there was actually a period of time where there was, in a specific area, and I don't remember where it was, that there was so much electricity being produced on a specific grid that the purchase of power on these reverse power purchase agreements with the local power company actually
became a minus number.
Yeah, became a minus number, actually went negative. The same way that, interest rates went negative in the short-term German paper, where people who were producing electricity were actually paying to have it taken into the grid instead of being paid for it.
Well, and here's the problem. That happened in West Texas. Texas is now the largest producer of wind power in the United States. We are number one. Most people don't know that.
Well, you know what, Tim? What's very interesting is that a couple former students at Indian River State, and we had Florida Power and Light in here in the studio the other night, and they were talking about some of the former students here who are heading the wind units at Florida Power and Light in Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah.
Absolutely. But the problem is when you max out the grid, when it doesn't need the electricity, that's exactly what the message of the market is it's minus. If you're going to use up our toll road and we can't use your power, you owe us money. And it's a real problem, and there's still a lot of disjointed subsidies in the market, too. The city of Austin, there was an article in the New York Times last Sunday, for those of you that like to read the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, you are bad.
The columnist lives in Austin. He is actually able to sell his excess power at 5 times the wholesale rate based on the Austin city policy that they've imposed on the electrical providers. Well, that's not going to last. Basic economics is going to win. And the reason we're going to see a market economy develop around alternative power is because all of these subsidies are going to go away. And, notwithstanding that Trump rolled over on Planned Parenthood and on a couple of other things to get the budget done, we're not going to see huge new subsidies for non-conventional energy. It ain't happening anymore.
No, wait a minute. Did Trump roll over or did Congress roll over Trump? I mean, it's like...
it's a combination.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally bizarre. But anyway, yeah. But, it is...
There's one good thing that happened out of it, though.
Yep.
Is I saw this morning in reading an analysis on it and Mike, you'll enjoy this because you know we're about to get heavily involved in this again, is medical marijuana and the production and sale by marijuana clinics is specifically barred from the Justice Department taking action against them for the period of the new budget through September 30th. And so, you've got 28 states that have legalized marijuana now, and Jeff Sessions said he doesn't care, he's going after them. It damaged a lot of those companies, but I think you're going to see a rally in the marijuana stocks today or tomorrow if people start reading this news.
Yeah, but Tim, until those shops, marijuana shops, can actually bank somewhere, like an FDIC type bank, what's it going to be? I mean,
they are going to state banks and they're going to credit unions right now. And part of the specific provision of the bill is the Justice Department is prohibited from interfering with the banking facilities of any medical marijuana clinic. That's in the bill.
Wow.
So it gives them some slack, but really it's only been the smaller community banks and the credit unions that have been putting their toe in the water on this. Because you're absolutely right. I was in Boulder recently, and they had 2 armed guards. It was a Friday afternoon, and I wanted to check out this medical marijuana clinic. And 2 armed guards with shotguns in their lap because the place had been robbed numerous times. And they were complaining it was because none of the banks would accept their cash. And what a problem to have.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Well, you always come out with news busters here. Usually it's oil, but now it's marijuana. That's interesting. The money info is now called marijuana.
My bets here. If
yeah.
oil goes a lot lower, I need to be in the marijuana business because I want it.
Well, if you have enough marijuana, your oil business is going to look great. Oh gosh, holy smokes! Well, you mentioned the New York Times. Did you see the story? Apparently, they had an opinion piece on global warming, and apparently a bunch of people canceled their subscriptions because it was a negative look at climate change.
It's the one piece of the New York Times that I don't read because it raises my blood pressure to a level that is unsustainable. I don't read the op-ed section.
No.
I read the.
That's where the marijuana comes in again, too.
Yeah, exactly. But
oh my!
I just asked the question, since we're driving along I-10 ballooning and we are not listening to the news, what's happening with the opening of the market today? Where are we?
Down a little.
Yeah, it's down a little. Let me check CNBC here right now. As we look,
single digits.
Yeah, it's.
Do you think it's
Nasdaq opened and made another new all-time high. Apple's up 75 cents. It has earnings today after the close. AMD had earnings last night after the close, and it's down. All of the auto companies have reported down numbers for the month. Nasdaq is down $6. The gold has turned up from down. The 10-year is 231. I saw trading as low as 229 and change this morning, and the oil is down 0.4%, and the S&P is down 70 cents. So there's really
oil
not
must
much.
Be right at 48 and a quarter, something like that.
Yeah, right around there. There's really nothing going on. There's an FOMC meeting today and tomorrow. Not that there's going to be any action taken, but
no, you correctly.
The problem with this,
several weeks ago.
Yeah, the problem with this market right here is the fact that it's the leadership has gotten so very narrow, and this really creates a problem. The volatility index, the VIX, which doesn't really measure, it's kind of a misnomer. They call it the volatility index, but it has nothing to do with the volatility of the market. It has to do with the number of puts bought versus the number of calls bought. And that doesn't measure volatility. That measures really more sentiment, whether people feel like they, have to buy protection. But the fact of the matter is that protection has gotten so cheap and people have become so complacent about the market at a period of time where, again, where the leadership of the market has gotten so very narrow. It's being run by a couple of stocks that are so heavily overweighted, like the Apple, which is both in the Dow, in the S&P, and in the NASDAQ 100. In fact, in the NASDAQ 100 and the Dow, the weighting of Apple is now 13%.
Holy smokes, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're coming into a period of time now where the market gets really sloppy. Everybody has said, we don't need the protection. Complacency is, very, very high. And that doesn't reflect at all the geopolitical risks, which are the fastest way to turn a market down. And we're coming into the summer, which traditionally the real volatility picks up because the volume decreases. And you have these vacuums under the market where there's just not that much participation, and the market becomes very, very unforgiving.
Well, doesn't that make it the time to write calls against your long positions then?
Well, that or to buy puts, and frankly, you get a lot of people who talk about all of the reasons why this time it's different. The fact of the matter is it's never different. It's never exactly the same, but it's also never different. And this complacency will absolutely catch up to the market.
Charles, did you see, and Tim, did you happen to catch Apple is sitting on $1 trillion in cash?
No.
Yeah.
They're sitting on roughly $275 billion.
Correct.
Most of that's outside the country.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and that's another issue because now everybody is talking about whether Apple or Google or Amazon will be the first $1 trillion company.
Wow. Yeah.
So, it's a race. It's a race to the top, and while everybody is focused on that race to the top, you're going to see things collapsing.
Well, CNBC had an interesting story, was it last week, I guess, about Amazon Prime buying BJ's, and that those BJ stores would be their local distribution centers. My goodness. Yep. I mean, that's perfect.
Makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Because another thing that they were talking about is that, there are people who go into BJ's and the stock is not there. The inventory, not the stock, but the inventory is not there, as it used to be. I mean, the people who were doing the report, which I believe was Dana Telsey, Telsey Management, they were talking about the fact that, there's only, a couple of each item and sometimes just a display. And, of course, they'll ship it to you, for free if they don't have it in stock. But the fact of the matter is there's not a lot of stock backing up the displays. And so that makes it just that much more. It's funny because I always thought of BJ's because we have a bunch of them up here. The BJ's are much more prevalent up here than either Sam's Club or Costco. I guess it's more of a local brand in this area. But, it would make a lot of sense for both sides to be able, to use that as a distribution point.
Well, yeah, and when you think about drone delivery and stuff like that, I mean, it's amazing. We just had to go into a Staples store and actually order kind of a Wi-Fi router type device, but it was only on the web. Now they're going to deliver that to us this afternoon. So it's a one-day delivery and it's free. So it's like,
right.
Wow, this is interesting. But, you look in their store and what was a fully stocked store is not now.
I see the same thing here, even in the smaller companies. Office Max. Office Max is Office Max and
used to be Office Depot,
not Staples, but Office Depot. Office Depot
Depot
and Office Max are now the same company. You go in there. I bought an HP, all-in-one computer about 6 months ago.
Yep.
With a great big screen, and that's what I use. They didn't have it. They had it on sale, and they didn't have it. And so, but they had the touch screen, but they didn't have the non-touch screen. So I ended up buying the touch screen only because I could walk out with it. And it was the same thing, but I needed it that day because mine blew up overnight, and I couldn't be without it. So I had to take something else. But you're right, it was, we'll get it to you tomorrow. We won't charge you for it. I just couldn't wait.
All right, so you keep hearing about the woes of retail, and what's going to happen? You think, all right, is there only going to be an Amazon Prime out there? Are we going to, lose all the malls and stuff like that? I mean, all you keep hearing about is Penny's closing, Sears closing, and Macy's closing. I mean, it's like, okay, what's going on here? And how would you like to be a mall owner, like Simon?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate to look at
I've been
stock.
saying that for a year.
I know you have.
Because these malls, you can't repurpose any of these malls. It's like, what are you going to do with them? I mean, you can't use them for housing.
Well, the one
here.
here.
The interesting thing is in Houston.
Yep.
One of the largest retail malls near in was anchored by a micro center. They ended up closing, and it was taken over by the Houston Community College. So it went from being a retailer that produced millions in taxes for the economy to a governmental entity that pays no taxes.
Wow.
Right?
Well, they had turned a mall in
pretty
Fort
big swing.
Pierce. Yeah, it is. They turned a mall in Fort Pierce, and there again, the school board's in there, the elections office is in there, and then there's some.
I mean, this was kind of a foregone conclusion because how many Macy's and the next group will be the drugstores. How many Walgreens do you need in a town of 10,000?
Yeah, you got them on every corner. Yeah, and they're.
I mean, how many CVS's do you need?
They're on the other corner.
How can these companies not cannibalize their own sales in a small town, or even an intermediate town, or even in a group of small towns? I mean, think about it like from the standpoint of where I live or down to the Cape, where every single small town has multiple numbers of each of these. I mean, and they're in clusters. There's Walgreens across the street from the CVS, and a block away is the Rite Aid.
Tim, what about Texas? Do they have like local pharmacies anymore there?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
The one local pharmacy we used to have called the Avalon Drug Store had two of them. One closed down. The other one barely does any business as a pharmacy. It's kind of a catch-all, and I predict it'll close soon. And what we're seeing now, Charles, did you see the article this week on the apple growers are now using robotics because they can't get labor out into the apple fields now? And they're predicting that apple harvest will be all robotic within the next 24 months.
You know,
I'm not talking
there was
2020.
one very, very funny joke at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. There was a comedian who came up who was Muslim and said, so, you know, here I am again. You guys couldn't get anybody to do this job, so who's here? A Muslim refugee doing the job that nobody else wanted.
That's great.
Welcome, Terry Howlett of Skinvisible.
Ah,
Hello, Mike.
hey.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, speaking of one of those foreign guys, who's from the frozen tundra of, let me see, what are we going to call this stuff? I mean, if Trump's going to redo the NAFTA thing, I mean, Mexico wants to call it the Commerce of the Americas or something. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, then they'll have to include Cuba.
God. Yeah, man, what a political bombshell we've got down here, and that's it. Cuba. Holy smokes.
Well, Cuba's north of Mexico. If you look
Cuba,
at it on the map.
Oh, come on.
Cuba in Miami is like the stepson nobody likes to talk about.
Yeah, well, actually, we'd love to just shove Miami. That's where, you know, if the seas rise a little bit, that'd be great. Float Miami down there by Cuba. That would be fine.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I have to apologize. We're about to get into a dead cell zone. I would definitely like to hear the story of Skinvisible, and I know, Mike, if you could introduce me, Gary Cello recommended highly that I get to meet this gentleman, and I would like to. And otherwise, I'll apologize and hang up for this week, and thanks for having me on the show.
Well,
You are welcome. Thank you so much.
You've been making news, and it seems like every time you come on, there's even more news. Hey, thanks a million. Terry, how you been, fella?
Been great, thank you. How you guys doing?
Well, we were talking in front of your back about medical marijuana and stuff like that. So just want to let you know.
Great.
Just want to let you know. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, that's what we like to chat about this morning because we're getting excited about the opportunity.
Really? Okay, so
yeah.
What's new?
Well, we're getting a lot of interest. A little background, as you know, Skinvisible is a developer of a topical delivery system. We have 14 patents on this topical delivery system, and while we do not develop new drugs, we do have a delivery system that delivers drugs to the skin for what we feel is better, and we've been able to show that why it's better than maybe what's on the market today. I always say maybe because you never know. But our delivery system, we can almost control the release. It's almost like a controlled release of the active ingredient out of a solution, so it doesn't matter whether it's a product for anti-aging or a skincare product for cancer, precancerous lesions. So we've developed that delivery system, and then we were introduced last summer to marijuana and said, well, if you've got a good delivery system that you talk about, could you deliver marijuana? And when we think of marijuana, we think of there's two ingredients that are important in there. One is CBD, which is the ingredient that's more for pain management, for healing. And then there's the psycho, the THC, that gives you the high, that really works on the receptors in the brain. The CBD works on the receptors in the organs of the body, and of course the skin being the biggest organ can help with that area. So anyway, so we got involved. We've developed some products using CBD from hemp. Hemp is as you know, is a plant grown in the U.S. and everywhere. Although farmers that grow hemp in the United States cannot sell the hemp for the use of oils, so you have to import it. But anyways, we've developed that with hemp and been very successful for both the topical and the transdermal. So we've developed those, and now we're within weeks of moving into a facility here, a state-approved facility in Nevada, marijuana facility, a production facility, where we can then work on the THC and THC/CBD combos. So a little update from last summer from our first introduction to where we're at today, and we have lots of interest in it. That's what's exciting for us.
Wow. Now, are you going to be out by the airport, or?
Our office is not very far from the airport here. We're located here in just east of the airport in Las Vegas. But
okay.
We're working with other facilities, and here's the part about it that's, I guess, offers opportunity in the fact that you cannot make marijuana-infused products in one state and sell them over the state line. Right now, there's 28 states that have approved medical marijuana, and that's what we're interested. We're not interested so much in the recreational side of it as we're interested in the medical side of it. So there's 28 states that have approved it, plus D.C. So when we set up to produce our finished topicals and transdermal formulations, they have to be actually manufactured in each one of those 28 states individually. So it opens up a great opportunity for Skinvisible in the fact that we would end up having 28 licensees, I should say, in the U.S. For our formulations. And so we're working on that part of the program as well, and pretty well got that put together how we would do that.
Wow. So the licensees obviously pay you a fee for this, right? And then
how it would work would be like this. Let's say that in California, where we have interest, Colorado, we would set up a licensee, and the part about Skinvisible from this point of view is we do not touch the leaf, and that's important. If you touch the leaf, then you're into the federal government regulations and banking and all that. We don't do that. So what we've done is we've developed the formulation, and we will set up a licensee. I use the term licensee, but we're not really looking for a licensee fee per se as to much as to buy the equipment, the small manufacturing equipment that's needed, and it's in the area of about $10,000. The production facility, let's say in Colorado, would buy that. Then they would buy all the ingredients from us. And the key here is our polymer technology. That's the delivery system. That's what binds it on the skin. That's what controls the release of the active ingredient. So they would buy the ingredients from us, from Skinvisible, and we would ship them to Colorado, we'd ship them to California, wherever we have somebody set up, including the jars with our name on them. And then, so we'll have continuity across the country in all 28 states. When you see a jar of Bango, you'll know it's our. I use that word. I just said Bango. That may be a company name. I better be careful. When you see a jar with, I'll just say Skinvisible on it, you know it's our product. Whether you buy it in Colorado or California, it's made to the same specs. What the manufacturer, what the producer in each state will supply, they'll supply their own CBD and THC into the formulation. So they get an uptick there. Then what they do is they take it, they finish the product. Let's say they make a couple thousand jars. They'll go out on the road and they'll go to all the other dispensaries in the state. In Denver alone, I think there's 400 and some dispensaries. So they'll go to all those dispensaries to sell their product wholesale to them and let them retail it.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And it's and it's obviously growing quite a bit.
We were just from Canada last week. I mean, Canada have approved the use of medical marijuana across the country. The federal government has. So there's no use. There's no worry about it being shut down as it could be in our situation in the U.S. here, because it's state approved, but it's not federal government approved. So in Canada, it's approved. So I mean, the stock market in Canada is just unbelievable of the companies coming online every other week, marijuana companies that have a grow facility, what they call cultivation and possibly production. I mean, one company up there's got a market cap already of $1.6 billion. Another company that we're aware of has a market cap of $800 million. And I've talked to somebody. I said, who's the people that are owning your stock? Who's buying it? U.S. funds are buying it because it's legal. If it ever became legal in the United States, of course, they would certainly get behind it in the U.S., the funds. But they don't have to worry about the government shutting them down. And so they don't have to worry about their money, their investment dollar is protected.
I never thought about that.
This was so exciting to hear all the stories that are going on. And in Canada, when you make it, so if we were to license our product in Canada, we would license it to one company exclusively because they can sell across all all provincial lines. So you can make it in Ontario and sell it in British Columbia, and it has to be shipped by mail. So they have a bit of a control over it, and you have to have right now it's medical, so you have to get a doctor's prescription for it. But that's how they do it, and then they have their customers on, their patients on, and they supply them with the product.
So Terry, are you
rattling on here? I apologize.
No. Are you planning on?
We're really pumped right now.
Yeah, I'll bet you are. So are you planning on the Canadian move? I mean, my God, you'd have the whole country.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're talking to companies right now, and we're hoping to get something put together. We need to get the THC product finished. We need to get in our facility here. We have everything lined up to do that, and hopefully we'll be in there, as I said, 2 or 3 weeks from now to get that product finished, and we need about 6 weeks of stability. Our chemist, Dr. Rozelle, sees no issue between CBD and THC on the molecule itself. So we're excited about that, to get those products finished, and then we can work on licensing Canada and earning income from Canada, and then we've, as I said, we've got a half a dozen states right now that are ready to go and get those set up as well and get moving. What we're doing is we believe, because we're a pharmaceutical company, we're bringing real science to the topical part of the delivery system of marijuana to the patients.
Well, and it makes perfect sense if you think about it. You got a little problem area, you can apply it. I mean, it just, I think about it. Okay, makes perfect sense.
Well, it is, and as I said, the CBD alone. I mean, there's some companies in the U.S. that are trading. One I can think of has got a $300 million market cap, and they're really big on the CBD from hemp part of it, and of course because it works with the receptors in the organs. I mean, there's lots of anecdotal or lots of evidence from patients who are using it who are getting off opioids. We were in a meeting last week in Vancouver, and it was a healthcare company we were talking to, and they're looking at marijuana because it's very expensive to be on some of these drugs today, as we know, and some of their patients are asking, can we try marijuana? We've heard lots of good things about it. Can we try marijuana, and maybe we can get off of the opioids and some of these other things that are causing all the problems for people and the country itself. So it was an eye-opener for us as we learned and listened what's going on. So, it's a great opportunity for Skinvisible to be there. A couple of things I'd like to mention. From the point of CBD, we looked at a couple of products that are on the market that are big sellers. As you know, we have our own lab, our own Dr. Rozelle, so we brought the products in here, and we took a look at several of them. One said it had X amount of CBD in it. We run the test on it. We found none. Another one said it was their top product, a great product, etc. We found that only 4% of the CBD actually released out of the composition to get to the skin to heal. Where in our case, over the same time frame, our topical, we had a full 24% release, and then we did tests on transdermal, and our transdermal product after 8 hours had an 81% release, which means that 81% of CBD came out of the formulation through the skin and then would go into the bloodstream.
Sure, the other stuff you were testing didn't come from Bert's garage or something?
Well, it seems like a lot of it does.
Oh, man.
Anyways.
Wow.
Anyways.
It sounds like you got the better mousetrap, my friend.
Well, we're really confident in what we have because we've got all of these years of experience. And the other thing is we've got the patents. So nobody can duplicate what we're doing.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah. They run to 2029 in the U.S., so we're well protected on our topical formulations. And that's where we end, of course, and that's where we start and that's where we end.
Right.
But right now we've got 5 products set aside that we're developing, and it could grow to be 10 or more. And if we can have that in all of these dispensaries, think of these dispensaries like CVS pharmacies, right? That's what you think about. So they could put your product in there, and if you could be the number one seller in there, you'd be very, very, very happy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Charles and Mike, how does this translate to the market?
Well, it's a great area, of course. It should just that a lot of people don't know about it. The question of getting people to understand the industry and Skinvisible's role in the industry.
But I would think this would have quite an effect on the stock prices, right? Eventually, a few months down the line.
No question about it.
Yeah, I think what we're doing, what we're going to be doing is we've been approached. There are a lot of publications out there now in the marijuana space, both magazines that we get and daily, at least a half a dozen from different groups every day on what's going on in the industry, mostly North America, but some other countries as well. And they have huge followings, and some of them will put out your press release and tell your story on it. And, of course, we hope to do that, too, because a lot of people are looking, if you can get involved in a 3 or 5 cent stock, like Skinvisible is right now, I mean, it could be a huge opportunity for them. I don't want to be a promoter here, but I'm just saying that the upside is very, very good. Very good.
No, go ahead. Be a promoter. Come on, Terry.
Well, if you don't promote yourself, who'll promote you, right?
It's your company. I understand.
That's the thing. So we're going to start that, and I wouldn't know if that would be next week, but certainly within the next 2 weeks, getting our news out there, who we are and what we're doing in a more vocal way, and getting some announcements out there about, as you know, we do a lot of things, but this is the one I think that's here right now. Somebody said the other day, it's like prohibition. You can't do it, but boy, when it became illegal, a lot of people made a lot of money, and that's what's happening in Canada. When you got companies with market caps of $1.6, $1.7 billion in our space, and the marijuana, that's huge.
Yeah.
And not profitable yet. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Wow, that's that.
Yeah.
That is truly amazing, and you're talking coast to coast distribution too. I mean, or does would every province have its own say, or is this would you deal with Ottawa and do the whole country, or
well, we don't deal
with
the government at all. We deal with the producer of the marijuana.
Oh, I got you.
So we would deal with one of these, 20-some companies probably, and there's lots. As I said, there's lots of them, and there are lots of them that are trading on the Toronto Venture Exchange, and so we would deal with one of those for an exclusive arrangement for Canada, and go from there. But as I said, right now it's approved medically. They have approved it, I believe, or are approving it shortly for recreational, and it will go in effect July the 1st of next year. Not an area that interests us, I don't think, but maybe. And then each province will set their own limits of age limits. Right now, most of the provinces in Canada, the legal drinking age is 18, so it will be, I guess, with recreational marijuana. And but again, I only know what I read and what I hear. But well, that's a big market for us because California is the size of Canada, vice versa. we'll be we are talking to people, and we'll be meeting people next week in California that are big production facilities, hundreds of thousands of square feet under cultivation.
Wow.
One of the companies in Canada put out a press release in our building in Edmonton at the airport in Alberta at 800,000 square feet cultivation facility and grow. That'd be the biggest in the world.
Wow. 800,000. Oh, my goodness.
800,000 square feet. Yeah.
Well, see, that's what they could do with the mall in Edmonton. Just turn it into a gigantic grow house.
If nobody's shopping anymore, everybody buying online. What a great idea!
Well, see, there you go. You've just got another idea there. Oh my goodness.
There we go. Anyways, it's very, very, it's exciting, and so that's where we're at, and in addition to our other businesses that we're doing, but the stock symbol is SKVI, Skivvy. We trade on the OTC markets. We've been on there since it started. Before that, of course, it was the bulletin board, and been public for over 15 years. Never missed a filing. All of our information, of course, is up there. But it's very exciting times right now.
Yeah, and it's very undervalued. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's got a market cap of about $4 million.
Wow.
So I've told you some interesting stories from Canada. So, and and in the U.S. here as well.
Well, now you mentioned something back a few minutes ago. Do you ever see, as you crystal ball this new business, a CVS or a Walgreens or maybe all the above, having like machines, I guess, if you will, where they could get your product out of a machine?
I don't see it, and I don't think anybody will touch it until the federal government approves it.
Right. Well, obviously, yeah.
And once they approve, for instance, in Canada, I've read and seen the information online that Shoppers Drug Mart, which is the biggest drugstore chain in Canada, they would like to carry and dispense marijuana and marijuana products.
Ooh, okay.
So you go to the doctor, get your prescription, and you go to Shoppers Drug Mart, and you give them the prescription, they fill it right there, instead of waiting for it to be mailed from a company. So that who knows? Who knows? But like somebody said, it's liquor and booze was illegal, and once it became legal, then all the big guys got it. Then it became big, I guess, and that can happen here too. You think about the tobacco industry and everything else. I mean, they could, if it ever became legal, I guess they could form subsidiary companies and take it over. I don't know. I'm just reading all this stuff and consuming everything we get our hands on. We're reading.
Well, now that's the other thing that is fascinating is could some of the tobacco fields be transformed for this medical marijuana?
Oh, sure. If it ever gets approved, I'm sure absolutely they could. Yeah, and why wouldn't they? That's their business: smoking and vaping.
Wow.
All you want to do is sell that leaf.
Yeah.
What's in the leaf, I should say. Yeah. So, anyways, lots of work. We attended a seminar 2 weeks ago here in Las Vegas, marijuana seminar. 3 medical doctors there. Phenomenal success stories of patients that they have on medical marijuana for certain conditions, and sometimes just getting people off opioids. And if you can do that, I guess that's I would think that would be huge.
Well, you have skincare applications for medical marijuana.
Right, yes. Ours are topical, so you put it on like you would a lotion.
Yeah.
And again, I go back to the CBD, which, you have your 3 layers of your skin, and that's we want to get into that CBD into the skin. So if your organ, your biggest organ in the body is your skin, then possibly, you can't make claims, so possibly you could, because the FDA is not involved on this outside of marijuana. You can help with skin conditions. And then, of course, then you go to the transdermal part of it. See, today, if you want to, you can take, they have out there cookies, and they got gummy bears and all kinds of other stuff for medical marijuana or recreational, but you have to chew them, and they go in the stomach, in the gut, and then, of course, the gut's got to digest it, and then it goes in the liver to be filtered, and then into the bloodstream. When you take it transdermally, it eliminates all that and goes in the bloodstream immediately. And that's what you want. It's almost like the theory of a patch, a little bit released over 8 hours through the skin on a patch in the bloodstream. And that's what ours does. As I said, over 6 hours, we were able to release 81%. We stopped at 6 hours. We could have gone 8. We could have gone 10 and see if we get it all. 100% of it released into the bloodstream. And we will do those tests, but we just wanted to get some preliminary work right away. I'm very, very excited about that.
Wow. So, Terry, you move into the new building, and then you mentioned hopefully a couple weeks and then 6 weeks after that to stabilize. So are you kind of looking at, August maybe to go full bore in the new building?
Yeah, I think that, again, what we do is we have a licensee ready to sign up here in Las Vegas. It's their facility, so they'll be the licensee for Nevada. So they'll make the product, and they'll take care of all the dispensaries in Nevada, in Las Vegas and Reno and wherever else. And that facility is a beautiful, brand-new facility and is available. Then what we'll do is people from another state say, I'm interested, fly in. We'll take them and show them the operation there, exactly what's involved. And they'll say, well, we can do that. I said, okay, if you can do that and you can do this and this and this to get this out to the other dispensaries in your state, then we'll set you up.
Wow.
And we'll go from there. And so, as I said, we have a number of production facilities. There's a cultivation license you get to grow it. Then there's a production facility, which is taking it to the oil stage, and then there's dispensaries and to sell it. And some have all three, and some have just a couple of those, etc. But once you've got the production, that's what we're moving into, a production facility using their CBD, using their THC to develop these formulations. Then they'll put them in their dispensary. They have a dispensary, this company, and then they'll put them in other companies' dispensaries.
Amazing.
Like you would make a sales call.
Sure. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, your stock symbol again?
SKVI.
SKVI. All right. Yeah, and you're on the OTC. And Mike King, Charles Moscowitz, thank you very much. Terry Howlett, as always, from Skinvisible. Wow. New industry starting. It is truly amazing. Obviously, you got to know Skinvisible is going to be part of it. Something else. Boy, I love that sunscreen. There's no doubt about it. Thank you very much, Terry Howlett, CEO. Tim Conally, our oil expert. Wow, what a show. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, WPSL.com, webcaster to the world.